Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Star Wars Lights, your home on the Geek Ultimate Alliance podcast network for any and all things Star Wars. I'm your host, Katie, and with me, like always, is Clay. And for once, we hit go live at 7 o'clock on the dot.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've done that.
Y'all, the life of young parents, it's a hot mess, and people who have been sick ridiculously. If you have not listened to our other episode yet, which I don't blame you if you have not, but we apologize for not being here last week. Clay was sick for once, and not me.
Yes, yes, it does in fact happen sometimes, not all the time. But yeah, it's been going around my entire office. So like everybody has the sniffles, everybody is coughing. It's absolutely disgusting. But I am here. I am feeling better. And we will eventually get back into that rotation of comics that we were supposed to be reviewing. So
yes.
But
Clay, I just need to let you know that theories is spelled wrong.
I was like really I was doing it like super quick. See, I spelled it correctly on the actual live, which is totally fine.
Yes.
And I can actually just swap this out really quick.
Greg is in the chat. Hello, Greg.
Hello.
He says he feels for us. His daughter starts college this year. Holy crap. It's been a while. Like 5 years. We realized that last night. It has been 5 years of the GUA, guys.
Yeah.
And I kind of was podcasting before the GUA, but like not really. But this has been 5 years of me podcasting consistently. So
very, very nice.
Big milestone for me, at least. But guys, we are here. We are going to be talking about some news from the past 2 weeks. We have a big one, and then we have some small ones. And then we're going to kind of be going through all of the different Andor Season 2 theories and like interviews that have come up, like in particular, Tony Gilroy being like, canon? What's canon? And K2SO, all the stuff around. So.
Yeah, just to give you some small highlights of what we will be talking about in regards to canon, which actually kind of got me a little fired up as far as like shaking my fist at Tony Gilroy. There's a huge debate on the K2SO and like whether we should have gotten it or not. There's also one regarding Mon Mothma and the speech and how in regards to like rebels and how that works into canon and everything else. But yeah, very interesting reads. But Katie,
and just for where, because we didn't like talk about these actively throughout the series, because again, 3 episodes, a lot to talk about in one show. So we are pulling like summaries of these interviews from sites like Star Wars News Net and Utini, as well as Collider. So they have really great summaries on all the topics involved, guys. So if you're looking for written synopsises, that's where to go. But first things first, Clay, where do you want to go with news?
I think we should probably go in the sequential order of how we received them. So looking at the actual Star Wars Alliance chat, I see that the Mia Goth. I think it's Mia Goth news. This was actually announced on the 6th, though it's like almost 2 weeks since we've gotten this news. But Mia Goth has been cast in Sean Levy's Star Wars Starfighter movie alongside Ryan Gosling. Now, from what I understand, this is the
I think it's the villain.
It's the villain role that the other actress from that one really controversial movie that came out this year or last year, I can't remember which one, had
The
turned down.
Andor one?
Yes, Honora. Yeah. I believe she had turned it down. And so now Mia Goth has the role.
God, I hate Snyder so much. I clicked his link in the post. I will never click another one because, dude, what the fuck? Like, I want to see the details. You're publishing this wide. Like, at least with the Daniel J stuff, whatever his name is. RPK. Daniel RPK. Like at least with his stuff, he's like, oh, I have a Star Wars scoop here for you guys. And then like post the Star Wars scoop in the sneak peeks. Don't post the title and then go, oh, if you want the details. Like you've got to subscribe. That's simple.
It's kind of scummy, to be completely honest. It's just how things are nowadays. And
yay, subscriptions.
Yay.
Oh, I feel like this gif of Mia Goth below the discussing film one. And it's just like
yeah.
Like, no.
yeah. But overall, this I personally have not really been following Mia Goth's Hollywood career. From what everybody else has been saying, this is a really good get.
Yes.
I am not entirely sure how I'm going to feel about it. And I'm not entirely sure if because of the type of movies she has been so far, from what I have heard, I'm not entirely sure how I feel about going into her Hollywood library and being like, oh, let me see what kind of character actor she is for when she does eventually come into Star Wars, you know?
Yeah.
But that's just me.
I have definitely not seen anything. I've heard really good things about the X franchise with X, Pearl, and I think Maxine is also a part of that. Or no, Pearl is not a part of that. No, it is. I'm confused. Anyways, yeah, I've not seen any of her stuff because once I got pregnant, I fell way off on the movie train. So I'll be interested to see what happens. A lot of people have praised her performance. So I'm excited to see what happens. I definitely hope she's a character, like a big character. So
yeah.
Probably the first thing it looks like I'll see her in is Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. So
oh, that's true. Yeah. I forgot that she was going to be in that movie.
Yeah, because Oscar Isaac is in that one as well, and I'm really excited about that. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens.
All right. And then after that, I believe the next thing up on our list is
2 new comic pieces.
2 new comics, yes. You posted this yesterday. I had seen like a small glimpse of this, and I was like, you know what? We're probably going to talk about it on the show, so I'm going to just be surprised. So, Katie, enlighten me. What are these 2 comics going to be about?
So, the black, white, and red, I would call this a franchise at this point because this is just something that Marvel does. Typically, I feel like with some of like the villains or like the most bloody, gory of characters.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So we've had Darth Vader and then Darth Maul for this series. So now we're getting a Boba Fett comic. And it looks like this is coming out in September. And I got that off of Star Wars Explains Instagram page. And it looks like it kind of is just maybe, what is it? The solicits for
Yes.
September are just out because
they do come out this week.
Gotcha.
Of course, it is my job. So the July for August solicits will be live this week. Marvel usually does theirs Thursday or Friday. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head. But this does look pretty exciting. Like you said, it is a little bit of a franchise. There has been a lot of black, white, and reds that have come out in the last 5 years. Like you said, we've gotten Darth Vader, we've gotten Darth Maul. Dynamite has done it with Red Sonja. DC has done it with Harley Quinn. It is a very popular thing. And I do believe there was even one regarding either aliens or predators. I can't remember which one it was. But it has become a much bigger thing recently. And I think it is a very easy money grab for these companies.
Yeah.
It's good artistic visuals with quote unquote less work on the colors. Because I mean, either way, it is still an art form, and I'm not going to say that like, oh, it's so easy, because it's not. It's art. But I am going to enjoy this a lot. First issue is going to be written by Benjamin Percy, with art by Chris Allen, and the cover is by Alex Maleev. Benjamin Percy. That was another one. Wolverine also had a black, white, and red.
Yeah.
Benjamin Percy is very famous for writing Wolverine, Ghost Rider. He's even done some Nightwing stuff. I really enjoy his writing style. It's going to be very interesting to see how he takes his style and implements it with Boba Fett.
Yeah, because I think this is the first time he's written anything for Star Wars. So it'll be good to see new blood in Star Wars. For sure. It's probably not something that I'll check out immediately, because like I got the Darth Vader one thinking it was the trade, and instead I got a Treasury edition. And I'm like,
okay.
Now it's like I haven't picked up the Darth Maul one because I don't want to buy a Treasury edition. I want it to fit on my freaking shelf. So yeah. We'll see what happens. But this will probably be one that I get later on when I can verify the size in store myself. So the other comic that is due to come out in September, this one is out September 3rd. And it is also a Marvel Comics. This one is Han Solo, Hunt for the Falcon. And we're getting old Han Solo. We got white-haired Solo.
I dig this a little bit.
A little bit?
Yes. Hunt for the Falcon is the title, the subtitle. I don't know how I feel about like I feel like I'm about to kind of contradict a little bit of what I said in our Trials of the Jedi review, which is also out by the time podcasters are listening to this. If you are subscribed to our Patreon right now, on Wednesday, you can listen to it now. But I, just with the way these are coming out sequentially, it's just something that it's a little bit of a pet peeve of mine. Of course, they thought about this story after the fact, and so it doesn't really line up too much with how Han was acting in Force Awakens, in the sense of like, I don't remember anything, and it's actually been a little bit since I've watched Force Awakens, but Uh, I don't remember him making any comments about actively searching, for the Falcon in that first like 15-20 minutes of seeing Han in the movie, you know?
I don't remember. I know he makes comments because I think he does make them within the first 15-20 minutes of his appearance because he specifically goes, I've been looking all over for it. Like, I thought it was gone. And Bray's like, oh, this guy had it on Jakku. And he's like, I never thought to check Jakku. Like,
Huh. Again, I think I'm going to have to watch Force Awakens pretty soon. Okay, well, if that's the case, then foot into mouth and we can move forward. But Katie, how do you feel about this book? It is going to be written by Rodney Barnes, which is somebody who I'm not familiar with, and art by Roman Rosanas.
Ramon Rosanas is how I would pronounce it, but I don't know. I'm super excited for this. I've heard really good things just with the announcement of this about Rosanna's artwork. And that they've done really good things. So that makes me excited. And I'm also really down for this. Getting more sequel trilogy content on stuff to fill out the trilogy that I like every movie. They don't really flow together. Like I've said that. But stuff to make things work, filling in those gaps, I think will do really a lot of wonders. It sounds like this also might be the story of Han leaving Leia. Like their separation, because he says, in the time before The Force Awakens, where is the Millennium Falcon? Less than satisfied with a settled life. And I don't think if he had left Leia that they would say, oh, he's living a settled life currently.
Yeah.
So Han Solo lands on the idea of reclaiming the Falcon and returning to a life of adventure. The problem is he can't find it. So I'm super excited about this. How do you feel about it?
I am ready to dive back into the sequel series. Like Greg says here, the sequel trilogy content depth will make it better if it makes sense. Think about what the prequels did for the original trilogy. 100%. I am always on the side of expanding the story more so than, oh, we need to get these characters back together, and for nostalgia's sake, and this is going to be so cool. Like, if the story is worth it, I am 100% down for it. That being said, I do want to know, because that is a lingering thing. Yeah, of course, you can connect some dots. You can say, like, oh, yeah, son going to the dark side. That could cause a lot of, marital problems. But I do want to see more of the real emotion between Leia and Han.
Yeah. The Princess and the Scoundrel did such a great job expanding on that emotion and making them feel like a true couple.
Mm-hmm.
That I just love it so much. And you just want to see that continue. Like you want to continue to build out the relationship that we all know exists. Chewbacca will be making an appearance. Apparently he is less than enthusiastic about the endeavor. But we also get to see Duquesne, because Duquesne is the one who stole it, according to Han in The Force Awakens. So it'll be exciting. This is out September 3rd, like I said, just to reiterate. So we'll see what happens. But this looks to be very promising. Ronnie Barnes also did the Mandalorian season 1 adaptation. So to see him get a new story is really cool. Going back to Boba Fett Red, White, and Black, Greg said, "Isn't it funny that with all the new stuff, we keep going back to the old greats: Vader, Maul, and Fett. I'll always love it, but I'll always love it, but let's get some Revan and Bane, maybe a little more Thrawn. That's a juicy Bane." I can completely agree with Thrawn. Revan and Bane haven't been fleshed out yet enough to where I would say, "Oh yeah, let's do a Red, White, and Black on them." Like, I think Stella and I talked about this a while back when Darth Vader Red, White, and Black was announced. But basically, this Red, White, and Black is basically like, hey, we can't come up with any original story ideas, so let's go back to what we know works, but in a different vein. So I would love to see some different content. I think Thrawn is probably I don't think he's probably off limits. I know he's off limits because of Ahsoka season 2. So I don't think we will see any Thrawn book or comic material unless it's related to Ahsoka.
Mm-hmm.
Because like we got the Ahsoka season 1 adaptation. So and he said this universe is so rich with already written stuff that average fans don't know about. Can completely agree. But I feel like most people who are reading the comics are going to have knowledge about that Legends material that does exist. So
yeah.
All right, I think that brings us to the end of the news.
Yes. That is the end. And so we will move on to our main topic, which is Andor Season 2 theories and interviews. And we've kind of touched up on the theory thing. I think it is worth exploring again because there was a conversation between Gilroy and Diego Luna in regards to the last scene of season 2. So we will touch up on that. But the one that a lot of people have been talking about, which I would like to bring up first, even at the time of reviewing Andor season 2, Andrew, avid listener, and sometimes is here on YouTube when we are live, he asked the question regarding this. We're like, hey, we're going to do an episode on this. Just come back when we're doing this episode. So in an earlier version of Andor Season 2, K2SO was introduced tearing through a ship in a sequence reminiscent of both the Alien and Predator movie franchises. Instead, the final scripts incorporated Imperial KX units into the Gorman massacre sequence. So I haven't really seen any like actual footage of Gilroy saying this. So I don't know what the extent of the actual scene is other than K2SO literally, like it said here, tearing through the hull of a ship. How do you feel? Because a lot of people are like, oh man, we could have gotten like horror movie Star Wars, you know?
I remember reading the interview with Tony Gilroy on that comment. And it kind of goes into his thoughts on integrating with canon, because a long time ago, when Rogue One came out, Disney was really big into, okay, we're going to have publishing, we're going to have comics that kind of relate to what's going on. And so there were several one-shots related to Rogue One. One in particular, how did Cassian Andor and K2SO meet? And clearly, what we got in season 2 disagrees with that comic.
Yes. There is, and I actually have it here. I had made this comment to everybody at the Geekverse Discord when we were talking about this. Because Travis shared the comment from Gilroy saying basically like, F that dude for making that comic on my character, blah, 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 blah. Which I think is a little ridiculous within itself.
Because who greenlights that stuff? Lucasfilm.
It's Lucasfilm. Yeah. Like, sorry, dude. Like, I understand you are a big shot, in making movies, but when you create a character in a IP that is much larger than yourself, you get the same treatment as every other creator in comics. Hey, this is ours. You don't get residuals for any of this because we own it. That's just how it is. That's how it is, guys.
And at the end of the day, Lucasfilm goes to everyone. We've talked with Tom from Random House Worlds. They have story ideas, and then they go to the author. They go, okay, I think this author would be really good for this. And they go to the author and they pitch it to them. And they say yes or no. Like, so this is not, hey, an author may come, but it has to get approved by Lucasfilm. So you should have a problem with Lucasfilm and not the author of that creation.
Yep.
Like, point blank.
100%. And so when it comes to the actual idea of reminiscent of Aliens and reminiscent of Predator, I think that is a really cool concept. I think that it is something that is worth exploring in some sort of capacity in the future.
Mm-hmm.
But like, we cannot, guys. We absolutely cannot, because it just hurts my brain when people do this with fandoms. We cannot what if this to death.
Correct.
Because you are basically just throwing away the masterpiece that is the final product that we all gushed over for a whole month.
And if you keep up with a what if fantasy, you will never actually be satisfied by what's in front of it. We can have, we talked about it with Trials of the Jedi. We both had expectations. Oh my gosh. Going into Trials of the Jedi.
Yes.
But you have to kind of set those aside at the end of the day and go, okay, now this is what I got. How do I feel about this? Instead of going, well, what if we had that? What if we had that? That doesn't make anybody happy. You will never be happy with that. Excuse my hiccups, guys. Oh my goodness. So I think a horror, like that horror element with K2SO could have been fun. And it probably fit very well in the 5-season plan that was originally done for Andor.
Yeah.
But when you only have 24 episodes to tell 5 years worth of story, you do have to cut things at the end of the day. And I think ultimately, while I would have liked K2SO to come in sooner, I think it makes sense where he came in. And at the end of the day, I liked what we got. So
yeah, I think it played very well with the, of course, theme of the Gorman Massacre. And like, it has this weird, like, kind of nuance of like, I get to take the enemy weapon and make it my own. Which I think is clever in some sense. So I do like that. So yeah, we've discussed the idea of genres in Star Wars. We got a little bit of that with Skeleton Crew. And with how this legitimized the idea of like a political drama genre within Star Wars. I think that there is like hope for a horror Star Wars in the future.
Correct. Yes. Going back to what you had said about Tony Gilroy with canon and talking about Star Wars Rebels and all this other stuff. So I have the direct quote in front of me. So he says, there are certain things in canon that we are beholden to, and others that are really great opportunities for us. The massacre at Gorman is a big opportunity. Everybody knows that Mon Mothma leaves the Senate because of Gorman. At the same time, there isn't a single thing written about Gorman. Gorman's a blank slate. There's no consistency between what Legends says about it, and there a lot of oh my gosh, sorry guys, and a lot of conflicts within the canon itself. The highlights of the Star Wars canon are on the calendar, but after 10 years, we've invented vastly more canon than we've ever had to adhere to, talking about the differences between what Rogue One had and what you have now with Andor season 2. So we honor the calendar and we've made our choices. Some are sneaky, some are bold, some are right in your face. Everybody at Lucasfilm knows what we've been doing. We haven't had any arguments. We've straightened some stuff out, I hope. I do have an issue with what he says about Legends here, because I feel like saying there's no consistency between what Legend says about it. Okay, but there doesn't have to be consistency. You can pick and choose what you want from Legends. That's the beauty of having material to choose from, but also saying, hey, we're choosing to ignore that. And that is Legends material. But you can bring it in if you want. I have a lot of issues with that statement personally. What do you think about it?
I'll tell you this. I have a lot of bad things to say about Tony Gilroy, only because he is like I raise my nose at you, sir, because I know film. Like I hate that kind of thinking. And I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Snell, you got a little bit of it too. And you know you do. Sorry, bud. You know you do. But like there's these moments that he also says about like the cheesiness of like how the original Star Wars was and all these other things. And it's like, oh well, we're not gonna do the cheesy, we're gonna do real movies. And it's just like, you're making a movie about Star Wars, you know that, right? Like and I think sometimes people forget the plot. Like they forget the whole reason why we're here, and I do think that Gilroy is a little lost in the sauce when he makes these types of comments. He is I'm not going to say he's the exception to the rule, because yes, Andor is a beautiful series. I think Andor is exactly what Star Wars needed in in such a weird time where like even that of like Obi-Wan had people criticizing it, when we legitimately thought, oh, this is going to be a home run. Like it's Obi-Wan Kenobi, Star Wars live action had not been hitting the hardest. So for Andor season 2 to make as much noise as it did, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's 100% a good thing. But I just have issues with the way Tony Gilroy just has like these like it's the same thing that I have this issue with people who write DC and Marvel too, is they're like, oh, that's just not how my Superman would do it, or that's not how my Spider-Man would do it. And I'm like, dude, Spider-Man was literally created decades before you were even born. So like,
there's always something that needs to kind of go hand in hand with Spider-Man, with Luke Skywalker, like
yeah.
things you do have to make sense for the bones of the character.
Mm-hmm.
And I think while I do have issues with what Tony Gilroy has said in some ways, I do think what he's done for Star Wars is immeasurable when it comes down to it, because he's expanded the genre so much. And yes, I'm calling Star Wars a genre because,
yeah, 100%.
like, why not? So I do think he's done a lot of really good things. I do think at some points his take on, okay, well, I don't really want to pay attention to canon, in some ways that's refreshing, because then we have people like Dave Filoni who's like, I'm going to bend canon to the best of my abilities to get everything I want.
Yeah.
In this. Whereas Tony Gilroy is like, yeah, like I like showing the history moments of it, but like everything else, like screw that. Like,
yeah, like, because there's even this comment here that he was making about Mon Mothma's speech, right?
mm-hmm.
He had a lot to say about the speech, about how the really sad part about her speech is like you could literally throw her speech anywhere in the past 6,000 years of world history and somebody would feel some sort of emotions like she's talking about their time. Yeah. And he says here, in regards to season 3 episode Secret Cargo of Rebels, he says, we are hijacking canon. In canon, she's rescued by the Gold Squadron, and the speech that they give in the cartoon, which was a canonical show, is on that ship. And Danny's like, and Danny Gilroy, his brother, said, do I really have to stick with this fucking speech? Like, yeah, like it's comments like this that I'm just like, guys, like, I get it. I understand there's this mentality of like, I raise my nose at you. I could do a lot better than this. But this is the source material that you're creating your show off of.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that her speech wasn't amazing in Andor. I would never say that. But it's just really hard to give them an inch when they take a mile in this direction.
Yeah, and I feel like I've got that quote in front of me now. And I just feel like maybe that didn't need to be said, because what you did still made it work. You literally say, hey, the rebellion wants her to make another speech, and like make sure it's broadcast far and wide. Like, everything they did in that episode fit with what's in canon. Completely.
Yeah.
Like, so yes, you had to respect it, but you didn't have to stick to that speech for what she gives, because you were able to give her another speech that's like directed to the Senate and like Coruscant, basically.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. It just makes me feel a certain way that I'm just like, dude, like, I appreciate what you did for Star Wars with Andor, but that's kind of all I'm giving you.
Yeah. Like, because they're like, in a really sneaky way, we're minimizing what they did in Star Wars Rebels, but we're keeping it consistent. Yes, you did, but you didn't minimize Star Wars Rebels. Like, Star Wars Rebels isn't boiled down for kids, because at the end of the day, it premiered on Disney XD, which is for kids. Like, you made an adult version of what happened in Star Wars Rebels. Why is that so hard to just say, yeah, we took what was in the kids show and made it for adults? Like,
it shouldn't be hard to say, but we have said this many of times. You do not have to punch down at the art form that is animation just because you like live action films. Animation is just as much of an art form as live action movies or live action TV shows.
Yeah.
So, like, making these types of comments doesn't help. Especially, also, before Andor, people's opinions on animation was, oh, this is the best Star Wars that we have.
Yep.
So, like, I'm sorry, it's like it irks me. Like I said, it irks me. I was a little fired up when reading these articles to prepare for this conversation. So, so I was like, but one that I did want to also bring up, that I do want to know your legitimate opinion on, because I recently finished last month the book Star Wars Princess Leia. That was a book that took place when Leia is at the age of, I believe, 16. She is very young. She's getting a lot of responsibility. And there are moments where she does interact with Mon Mothma. In this article, the article is titled Tony Gilroy Reveals He Considered Using Princess Leia While Reflecting on Andor's Finale. Now, do you feel like Leia would have been too much for the show?
I do. Because you have the moments from Bale, you have the moments from Wine. I feel like if you had included Leia, it would have been too much. Because you're going, like, Tony, and it's again going back to what Tony Gilroy has said. Oh, I want it to connect, but I don't want it to connect.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want it to stand on its own. So, with the fact that it is there and it does stand on its own, like, I think it makes a lot of sense not to have her there. Because I think if you do, it's just like, yeah, now Leia's here. Now I want all these things involved. You have more what ifs, if you will.
Well, and that was the thing. So, like, his actual quote here is, there were some conversations early on. I was trying to get the most out of the out of that investiture week and those parties, and we were trying to find out on the timeline where she would be in the Senate. There were some nutrients for a scene between her and Mothma if she was going there at 16 and Mothma had gone to the Senate when she was 16. There were some basic cool things for a scene, but it never got past that. And it never went to the casting stage, or it never got more real than that. I remember talking to Kathleen Kennedy, about it, and talking to Pablo Hidalgo about it, but it never got traction. And then it became a distraction. I think that, for one, I do think that I think Kathleen would have let him do it. For one, I think that she would have let him. We could have legitimately seen a newly casted Leia for the age of 16, because I highly doubt that.
No, you could have, if you wanted to have Leia with, I can't remember her name, but the Obi-Wan Kenobi actress, you would have needed to have her in, like, Mon Mothma's wedding.
Yeah.
The not Mon Mothma's wedding, Leia's,
her daughter's.
Yeah.
So with this though, I think that it would have been too much, because we have the idea, and I do think that this is the part of the distraction portion that Gilroy probably was thinking about, was she's gonna steal the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to take away from Mothma. It's going to take away from Andor. It's going to take away from Luthen. It's not really important because the stepping stones that we need for Leia's role within the Star Wars timeline is not what Andor is about. And that is where the distraction takes place. You're taking a left turn for this small cameo that completely derails the narrative of the show.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good idea. Like, it's a fun idea, but it was a good decision to leave Leia out of the show.
Yeah, 100%, because it would have fully derailed things, like you said.
Yeah.
So, let's see. I had one more in here. Okay, so that's the Princess Leia one. I was trying to find it. I had so many tabs open from Star Wars News Net, guys.
Oh, well, there is one.
Okay, go for it.
This comes into the Andor theories part of the conversation.
Okay.
There is an article on darkhorizons.com. I've never heard of this thing before. It was shared in the Geekverse Discord. And Snell was very excited for this. It's titled, Disney Has Plans for Bix. And it says here, though Andor may have finished its 2-season run, that may not be the last we've heard of some of the new characters introduced. While the key characters of the series died on Scarif in the events of Rogue One, one character who wasn't there and continued to live on was Cassian's friend turned lover, Bix. The final scene in the series sees the introduction of a child she and Cassian Andor had, a child he will never get to meet. Daniel RPK is reporting that there are rumblings that Lucasfilm has more plans for the Bix character. What these plans are is anybody's guess. Some fans have speculated Oscar Isaac's Poe Dameron is that child, which boo on anybody who is trying to connect these characters to other characters of the franchise. This is what happens when all y'all cry about Last Jedi and then get
what if?
Yeah, it's so dumb. Guys, Cassian is not related to Poe Dameron. The article continues. However, about 9 years or so passed between the end of Andor and the beginning of The Mandalorian. So Bix and her son's return in a Mandoverse series would be quite possible. It says here, the actress who plays Bix has previously expressed a willingness to reprise the role if asked. So, the theories. Again, I just mentioned a small one, which I think is absolutely stupid of people to think that is Poe Dameron. Like, Jesus Christ. I had told you, I can't remember if I actually said it during our actual review of the finale, but I've had the conversation with Travis Snell. I do not want an Andor Jr. show.
Correct.
Because I think that is the wrong lesson to learn from the success of Andor.
Yes.
The one thing that investors, the people in suits with all the money, they see dollar signs and they want more dollar signs. And they think the only thing that makes more dollar signs is the one thing that made them dollar signs. It's why the MCU has the mandates that it does. It's why that has kind of gone into chaos and they're like trying to pick up the pieces. I don't need Andor season 3 just because some dude in a suit said, "Hey, I got a lot of money from this. Let's do it again."
Yeah. Because you run into the issue of how a lot of reboots are going right now, where you have this really dumb story, in particular, How I Met Your Father. One of the dumbest things that I have ever watched. Like,
I never watched the show. I considered it because it was Hilary Duff. I'm a really big fan of hers. I was like, hey, maybe this has some, validity to it. But like I had also heard that it was kind of poorly written.
it was very poorly written. Like, they didn't consider at all. Like, they had Robin, they had Barney, like, make appearances. Okay, but how does that relate to her as a character? Like,
Yeah.
because, yeah. So, it's just, you run into that risk where you go, oh, okay, I'm going to reboot this later on. And sure, could you say, I'm going to have Andor the next generation with the Resistance? Sure, you could totally do that. But I don't want to see Star Wars go, oh, the kid has to live up to the success of the father or the
Yeah.
mother.
Mm-hmm.
Not a fan. Now, if we get Andor Jr., like Bix goes, you know what? I want to get involved with the Senate. And we see the Senator Bix like on Coruscant, and we see little Andor like with her. I don't have a problem with that. I don't want Andor the next generation at all whatsoever.
Well, in see, I have a small issue with that as well. The reason why I have a problem with that is Bix's character, and this may be a little out of line, and people can have their opinions. They can come at me with their opinions after I say this, but with how we saw the character evolve from the beginning of season 1 to the farewell at the end of season 2, I legitimately don't think Bix is going to be like, hey, I want to be the change that Andor, died for. I want to be a part of all of these politics.
Mm-hmm.
She ran away. Like
Yeah.
she wants to live a peaceful life. Now, the problem that I see arising with the Andor Jr. show, if this is all hypothetical, of course, is it is a Luke Skywalker retelling.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
Like, it is legitimate. Oh, my father died during this war and blah, blah, blah. It is legitimately a Luke Skywalker story told again.
You're right. You're 100% right.
And I'm saying that, and some dude that works for Disney and Lucasfilm right now is listening to our podcast and is saying, God damn it, it's genius. Let's do it. And I'm gonna pull my hair out. Like, it is every, like, the people who are just stuck in their ways of the original trilogy would 100% be on board with this.
Mm-hmm.
But we can't keep going backwards. But Clay, we're going forwards. It's the future. No, we're in the same timeline, telling the same kind of story. Like, we can't keep doing this, guys. We need something new. And I don't want another Luke Skywalker story. Correct. I don't care if he's not a Jedi. He is still in the same vein. You're still telling the same story in the same vein. And I just don't want it. I don't want it. And so if this show became a Bix show about her survival, about her past haunting her, the regret of you know, not letting Andor and her live a peaceful life because she sees that the the new order is coming around, and it's like, oh, it was all for nothing. Like, I could see that drama series being really good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, again, another political drama. I think that could be something. But do not give me an action adventure
Yeah.
Andor Junior show. I do not want it. I do not need this kid to live up to his father's name, and he gets to meet all of the heroes that his dad worked with. Like, I don't need it. I don't.
Yep. 100%. So the last thing I think we have to talk about is the ratings for
Yes.
like the Nielsen ratings, guys. Basically, if you don't know what this is the smart TV that's like that tracks how much you watch, basically. So it's a decent representation of the public. So I don't have like the distinct ratings. I have week 2 and I have week 4's specific related to all the other shows. But so week 1, with 3 episodes, we had 721 minutes watched. And then week 2, it was 821 minutes watched. And then week 3, it was 830 million minutes. All of these are in millions, if that wasn't clear, guys. And then the finale week, it came in at number 1, that finale week with 931 million minutes. So overall, very good for a season 2 of the show. And this is not compared to The Last of Us. Where is it? Is this the right thing? Yes, it's the right thing. Okay, so Andor, Bluey. Andor was
I was
going to
say
Bluey was number 2.
That within itself tells you how crazy Andor was. Guys, Bluey is a show that is legitimately universally loved.
Yep.
Like, I have never heard anybody say, hey, Bluey, that stupid show about a dog, F that show. Like, no. Like, you will never hear anybody say that. I love Bluey. For Andor to reach 931 million hours watched.
Minutes,
sorry. When I know for a fact there are families that legitimately turn on Bluey and then walk away from their TV and let that show literally go all the way to its end, is absolutely insane to me.
Yeah. So, for instance, guys, in week 2 of Andor, it ranked at number 6 with, again, 821 minutes. Bluey was number 4 at 870 minutes. Like, so it's just, it's a really good sign. And as one of the highest rated TV shows of all time, with some of the best rated episodes, I really hope that this results in good things at award conventions and everything, particularly with Emmys, because that's what Disney's looking for with this. That's why we got this release schedule that we did, even though they seem to be repeating with Ironheart, but we don't know if that's because they just want to get rid of the show or because they just want to repeat what they did with Andor. So I really hope this does give good award talks for Star Wars shows so that we continue to get them. Because at the end of the day, we do love that we get Star Wars on TV now. Point blank.
Yeah. 100%.
anything else for the conversation, Clay?
I don't believe so. I think that is everything for this week. Remember, guys, at the time of recording, Patreon subscribers have access to the Trials of the Jedi review. The book is officially out. It came out on Tuesday of this week. Those of you who are listening to this on Thursday, the review is out also if you would like to hear that. I would, of course, say, hey, go read the book before you listen to the review.
Correct. It is a full spoiler review, guys.
It is 100% a full spoiler. We did not leave much of anything on the table because there was a lot to talk about. Katie's electricity almost went out, and so we had to like things up. It was wild. But yeah, that was a really fun review. Really like, and we gushed about the High Republic at the very end of that as well. So go catch that on podcast feeds as of the time that you're listening to this on Thursday. But with that, guys, of course, you can find me at Fanboy Clay over at Blue Sky, over on Instagram, Threads, on TikTok. I have been lacking in doing a lot of the reading because I just could not get enough of Trials of the Jedi, and I just listened to it and listened to it and listened to it. Oh, by the way, Katie, I purposely turned it right as I was driving home to work, driving home from work today. I listened to chapter 22 again. It's so good, guys. Chapter 22, Trials of the Jedi, literally best thing to ever come out of Star Wars ever. I'm just gonna say that, and we say the same thing in our review, so it's totally fine. But yeah, go check out all of my socials there. With Ranger Alliance, there is going to be a 2-episode drop 2 weeks from now because next week Jake is at a card game tournament and will not be able to participate in recording. So that is going to be delayed for 1 week, but we will be back. Katie, what about you?
Y'all, you can find me on most social media platforms as at Slice with Katie. This show, find us on email. It's gmail.com to be specific, with the username Star Wars Alliance, with no A in the words. Very important. Don't forget it. Once again, that's Star Wars with no A. Alliance at gmail.com. There is A's in the Star and the Alliance, in case the hiccups got anybody confused. Because they're still going. Fuck. The Star Wars Alliance hotline, guys, you can shoot us a text or leave us a voicemail, 830-538-4828. Just remember, give us a name, some way to reference you for the show. Tell us your thoughts on Andor. Tell us your thoughts on Trials of the Jedi. We love hearing from you guys. So next week, guys, we will be back with the Young Jedi Adventure Season 2 Part 2 review, because Season 3 is coming out this fall. So we got to be prepared for that with the High Republic and everything. So with that, guys, I want to wish everyone a great day or night, whatever time of day you're listening or watching, and we will see y'all next time. May the Force be with you.